had to say the worst part of the journey is, when we, I can't say broke up, but we all went separate ways, and that was in 97.
Dwayne Wiggins has revealed the darkest shadow of Toné, Toné and Raphael Saadiq.
When we took the break, we just, got a deal, made money, people get different friends, different things happen. And
we all know that the group fell out at some point, but nobody ever thought it was really about unequal payments.
We got a little bit of money, and you get a little bit of money. At the time, I wasn't smart enough to be able to corral them together and say look, man, let's stay together.
What made things worse was Raphael Saadiq stepping down due to Ed Eckstein's involvement.
Like I said, we all grew different. The money got funny, the executives got weird, and people were telling me, I'm gonna kill you and put a horse head in your bed. It got really weird. Ed Eckstein.
Not to even mention the crazy lawsuit by some of the members. There's a lot to discover, so let's dive in. Toné started out as an R&B group from Oakland, made up of Dwayne Wiggins, Charles Ray Wiggins, also known as Raphael Saadiq, and their cousin Timothy Christian. Later on, members like Elijah Baker, Amar Khalil, Antron Hiley, and Carl Wheeler came into the picture. But in the beginning, it was just the trio, and people couldn't get enough of their sound. Even then, Raphael was already dreaming bigger. He didn't want to just be part of a group. He wanted to explore new sounds, push his creativity, and find out what else he could do. He felt confined, like there was something deeper in him that needed to break free.
I just didn't want to be looked at like a temptation, like I can only do one thing. You know what I mean? It was so much building in me, and I was learning myself at the same time, that I can make records, that people actually listen to me.
On the other hand, there was already a brewing issue. Money started causing tension amongst the group. Some members felt the payments weren't adding up. They worked hard but didn't see the reward they expected, which led to arguments and hurt feelings. But honestly, the deeper reason for the tension was Raphael's growing desire to leave. He didn't want to be seen as someone who could only do one thing. He wanted to grow and evolve. He wanted to try new sounds, work with new people, and make music that felt true to him. With time, everyone in the group started going their own way. Once money got involved, things got complicated. Some people changed. They made new friends, got married, and started thinking differently.
We got a little bit of money, and you get a little bit of money, people just have different friends. You have your set of 5 friends. I have my set of 2. And other people, people get married. Tim got married. And
they were all young, just trying to figure things out. Raphael didn't really know how to sit everyone down and say, let's fix this. One night, after a show, he went home, dropped his suitcase, and never called anyone back. It wasn't pre-planned. It just happened. Deep down, the others probably saw it coming. The money issues, the growing distance, and even threats from people in the industry made it clear things were falling apart. It was wild, and he knew it was time to move on. The drama with managers and record execs to control the group made things worse. Raphael wanted them to stay united and keep outsiders from messing with their bond, but not everyone saw it that way. The record label, especially Polygram's president Ed Eckstein, started making moves to replace him. Raphael laughed it off. He was from the East Bay, so he wasn't easily scared. He even left a joking message on Ed's answering machine about it.
Like I said, we all grew different. The money got funny, the executives got weird, and people were telling me, I'm gonna kill you and put a horse head in your bed. It got really weird. Ed Eckstein. Watched a couple mafia movies, and he didn't know I was from the East Bay, and I was like, boy, is you serious? You better tell me you serious. And now I called him, left it on his machine. I said, if you serious now, let me know.
But soon, the label went behind his back and tried to bring in Stockley Williams from Mint Condition as the new lead singer. When Stockley found out, he called Raphael like, man, what's going on? Raphael told him that whatever confusion Stockley was facing, his situation was 10 times worse. The label didn't stop there. They also convinced the band to take Raphael's close friend, their guitarist, and move forward without him. That betrayal stung because Raphael was the one who brought that guitarist into the group in the first place. The label thought they could swap people out and keep the magic going, but it didn't work. Fans noticed the difference right away. Toné had something real, something that couldn't be replaced. After Raphael stepped away, other members started leaving Toné, too. One of them was Amar Khalil, who left after a New Year's Eve show in 2018. Fans were shocked, but there had already been trouble behind the scenes.
You decided to take a break from the Tonys. Is it a break or is it a...
Man, this shit is over.
It's over?
It's over.
Why you say it like that?
After 20 years, man, I got my boxing gloves. And
his exit wasn't the first. Original members Elijah Baker, Antron Haley, and Carl Wheeler had already walked away. Their reasons came out later in a documentary called Loyalty No Royalty, which laid out how money issues tore the group apart. Turns out, not everyone was getting paid fairly. There were arguments, hurt feelings, and eventually, people just left. Early on, fans thought the group was living large, but that wasn't the case. Their first album didn't bring in much money. Even with their hit Little Walter, they were still broke. No cars, just borrowing rides from friends.
Hey, Little Walter. Hey, Little Walter.
It wasn't until their second album that the real money started rolling in. Like many artists back then, they'd been taken advantage of. Other people controlled their earnings, and they learned the hard way how the industry really worked. Some members later said those tough times taught them valuable lessons. But by then, the group had already taken too many hits. With all the exits, things were never the same again. More recently, things got even messier. Some of the former members filed a lawsuit against the remaining ones, claiming they were cheated out of royalties and advance payments. Elijah Baker, Antron Haley, and Carl Wheeler sued Dwayne Wiggins, Raphael Saadiq, real name Charles Ray Wiggins, and Timothy Christian Riley. According to them, all the members signed contracts with Polygram Records back in 1989, which covered recording and publishing. But the former members say they never saw their share of the money from those deals. Elijah Baker in particular says he never got paid for the Revival album, the one that went double platinum. He, Antron, and Carl were all credited as part of the band on that record, yet they claim they got nothing. The lawsuit also accused Dwayne, Raphael, and Timothy of firing the group's manager, Carlos Stanfield, and lawyer Barry K. Rothman, the same lawyer who handled their contracts with Polygram. To the former members, that was just another sign that the business side had gone sideways. They also believed that after their manager and lawyer were fired, they were left completely exposed, like nobody was there to look out for them anymore. According to the lawsuit, once the remaining band members took over full control, they stopped sharing important financial details with everyone else. They allegedly kept quiet about the money that was supposed to be split among all of them and handled the cash privately. The claim is that they paid themselves first and held back money that should have been shared equally. The old members felt that was totally unfair because the leaders of the group were supposed to be honest and transparent with them.
We thought the fame and fortune go together, which it did come, but we assumed that any money rolls in, it'll be split equally between us. More than us, but we get our share. And when the money came in, we just didn't get it. Me calling Antron, that is.
They also accused them of hiding money that didn't belong solely to them and breaking that bond of trust that once kept the group together. In simple terms, they're saying the group leaders acted shady, doing things behind their backs to benefit themselves. Of course, the accused members denied everything, saying none of it is true. But then, an organization called Sound Exchange actually confirmed that the former members have a legal right to receive royalties from the Revival album, which kind of backs up what they're claiming in the lawsuit.
Don't let the fellas tell you things of my past.
It's a messy situation, but it shows what happens too often in the music industry. Bands usually start out as a tight circle of friends who just want to make good music, but once fame and money get involved, things change fast. Friendships turn into business partnerships, and business can get ugly. No one really knows how this case will end, but the former members are standing their ground, trying to get what they believe they rightfully earned. Now, let's rewind a bit to how it started. The name Toni. Toni. Toné. Actually started as a joke. Funny enough, none of the guys were named Tony. It all began with Dwayne, who was known as the pretty boy of the group.
This is what I read.
The name, yeah.
Yeah, the name. And so, like, what made it stick?
This is
Like,
another
what made
Dwayne
your
story. This is his story.
No. I mean, we all have different,
versions of?
but it's all the same.
He always had a clean look, dressed sharp, and had women flocking around him. He was smooth, confident, and loved to have a good time. Unlike most people back then, he didn't rock a Jerry curl. Instead, he slicked his hair down and parted it neatly. Because of his looks, people said he reminded them of the movie star Billy D. Williams. That's where the nickname Pretty Tony started floating around.
Dwayne had really kind of curly hair anyway, but he used to put this kit in his hair and make his hair really slick. I mean, Dwayne was a ladies' man, like, for real. I mean, every time, and him and Keith Washington had that same type of hair, you know what I mean?
Oh, yeah.
Dwayne even said that when he was in school, some teachers used to accidentally call him Tony. His hair was always so neat that people started jokingly calling him Tony, like an Italian name. The nickname stuck and the guys started running with it.
Dwayne said to me, he looked at me, he was doing his hair, he was taking it out of his hair, he looked at me and said, yeah, if I was to go to school today, the first day of school, and roll call, the teacher wouldn't call me Dwayne, she'd call me Tony, but she had said 3 times. That's the first time.
That is a great.
One day, the band was performing at a wedding. Back then, they weren't even doing R&B. They were trying out a rock sound like the Police, but the industry wasn't really feeling that direction. At the wedding, their manager and Dwayne's brother asked, "What's the name of your band?" They didn't have one yet, so jokingly, they said, Toné. When the announcer said it out loud to introduce them, it sounded perfect. The crowd loved it, and from that moment, the name just stuck.
The wedding reception, we didn't have a name, was our manager and his brother turned around like, what's the name of the group? We didn't have a name of the group, and we just laughed and said, Tony. And then when he said, ladies and gentlemen, Tony.
Now, circling back to Raphael. After Raphael left the group, his solo career took off. His song, Ask of You, became a huge hit. But with that success came distance. Some old friends felt hurt and believed his leaving changed the group's legacy. Even so, Raphael still had that love for collaboration. He teamed up with Ali Shaheed Muhammad from a tribe called Quest and Dawn Robinson from En Vogue to form a new group called Lucy Pearl. Raphael was really hyped about this new project. He loved being around creative people, bouncing ideas off each other, and just having fun making music. Lucy Pearl had a special kind of magic. Their sound was fresh, smooth, and people instantly vibed with it. Their song, Dance Tonight, blew up, and for a minute it looked like the group was about to take over. But things didn't go as planned. After about 3 years, it all came to an end, and everyone was left wondering what happened. They had the talent, the hits, and the fans, but somehow it still fell apart. According to Raphael, Dawn Robinson wasn't fully invested. She had already left En Vogue to go solo, and when she joined Lucy Pearl, it was never meant to be long-term. After just 6 months, she decided to dip again to focus on her own career. That hit Raphael hard because he felt they were just getting started. The chemistry was there, and the group had real potential. It felt like all that effort went to waste.
When I left the Tonys, I immediately called, Shaheed from, Ali Shaheed, and then I grabbed Don. It's just fun. It's just, to me, it's funner being in a band. But after that didn't work.
Why didn't that work?
At first, he was hurt and frustrated. It's tough to watch something you're building just fall apart, but over time, he learned to let go. He didn't want to carry resentment. He realized that sometimes people just have their own journeys. You can't force things to work. He understood that Dawn had her path and he had his. From the very beginning, music was everything to him. As a kid, he used to dream about performing all over the world, playing in front of big crowds, and working with artists who inspired him. He used to spend hours in a record store, just hoping that one day someone important might walk in and notice him. He was confident about his music, always believing that whatever he created, people would feel it. And if he didn't believe in a song himself, he wouldn't release it. Every track had to mean something. It had to connect with people on some level. One of his biggest songs, Anniversary, often got people asking if he wrote it about someone special. But Raphael said no, it wasn't about anyone in particular. He just used his imagination. He liked watching real-life situations, picking up emotions from what others went through and turning them into songs. That was his gift, storytelling through music. Another one of his big moments came when director John Singleton was working on Boys and the Hood. John told Raphael about a romantic scene featuring Nia Long and another actor, and he needed a song that would fit the vibe. Raphael hadn't even seen the movie yet, but just from the description, he went ahead and wrote Just Me and You. That song ended up being his first solo record, but the label didn't want him to release it under his own name. Back then, he was still going by Raphael Wiggins, and the record company insisted the track had to be credited to his old group instead. Raphael didn't understand why. It was his voice, his song, but they said it was part of the rules. So even though Just Me and You was completely his, the group's name appeared on the record. A similar issue came up with Raphael's song Ask of You. By then, he had already changed his name to Raphael Saadiq, but the label still wanted to use his old name, Raphael Wiggins. He refused, insisting on being credited under his new name. When director John Singleton wanted the song for a movie, Raphael made it clear it wouldn't happen unless his real name was used. Singleton respected that and made sure the credit was right. For Raphael, the name change wasn't just for show, it was about identity. He wanted to separate himself from his brother and have a name that matched his sound and vision. Someone once joked, "Who's gonna buy a Raphael Wiggins record?" And that stuck with him. It pushed him to become Raphael Saadiq, a name that felt real, soulful, and true to who he was. Changing his name was a major turning point. It gave him a fresh start, a chance to be seen as his own man and not just the guy from Toni. Toné. He worked hard to earn that respect, and his music started speaking for itself. His sound, his lyrics, and his honesty made him stand out. Raphael Saadiq went on to have a huge solo career. His songs always came from a real place, about life, love, pain, and the stories of his neighborhood. He didn't just make music to dance to. He made music that said something. One of his early songs, Little Walter, was actually based on a real person from his community. In his area, people who got caught up in the streets, dealing drugs or living that fast life, often ended up in bad situations. Raphael saw it all growing up, and instead of ignoring it, he turned those stories into music. His songs became like pieces of his world, told one lyric at a time. Over the years, people have told him that his music became part of their lives. Some said his songs brought back memories of family and good times. One guy once told him, "My mom used to play your records every Sunday while cleaning the house." Back then, families would blast music while cooking, cleaning, or just hanging out. And that kind of music stuck with people. It wasn't just background noise, it was the soundtrack to their memories. Nowadays, Raphael says music doesn't always feel the same. It's faster, more digital, and not as personal as it used to be. But he's seen it all. Touring was a big part of his life. He traveled everywhere, sharing stages with so many artists, even going on tour with Timothy Riley, Kwame, and NWA. He was there for wild moments too, like the infamous NWA fight in Houston that ended up being shown in their biopic, and when the group got kicked out of a Detroit show. Raphael saw all of that up close, and he spent a lot of time with Ice Cube during those years. He remembers one day, Ice Cube told him something random but deep. "I don't know how long I'm going to keep doing music. I think I'm going to get into movies." At the time, Raphael didn't think much of it, but when he later saw Cube acting in Boys and the Hood, it hit him. Cube had actually made it happen. That moment stuck with him because it reminded Raphael that anything was possible if you believed in your vision. These days, Raphael does a lot more than just sing. He's worked on music for film and TV, composing for shows like Insecure and Underground. He's been so busy over the years that sometimes he forgets just how much he's done. But through it all, music has remained his true love. He's always said he wants to make music that feels human, songs that speak to people's everyday lives. He's made plenty of songs for women, but he also writes for working men, the guys who wake up early, grind every day, and don't always see themselves reflected in music. That's what inspired his album Jimmy Lee, a project that spoke to real struggles like addiction, pain, and redemption. When people ask if he's open to others sampling his songs, he says some music just never fades. It keeps living on through generations, and that's exactly what he wants his to do. Then, in 2023, something special happened. The original lineup of Toni, Toné came back together for a U.S. reunion tour to celebrate the 30th anniversary of their classic album, Sons of Soul. It was their first tour in 25 years, and fans went crazy for it.
Y'all are stopping by in the middle of a groundbreaking, I would say historic comeback, reunion tour, right?
I don't say a reunion.
We call it a revisit.
A revisit. I like that word.
They performed their old hits along with some of Raphael's solo tracks and songs he'd written or produced for other artists. Before the tour, the group had even talked about recording a brand new album. But by September 2024, Raphael revealed on the Rolling Stone Now podcast that the plans for a new project had fallen apart. He said that the group members just didn't feel the same way about making music together anymore. The spark wasn't there. He admitted he didn't think another reunion would ever happen again. Sadly, not long after, tragedy hit. Dwayne Wiggins, one of the original members and Raphael's brother, passed away from bladder cancer on March 7th, 2025.
Oakland is the birthplace of a lot of music legends, and today it lost one of its brightest stars. Tony's Dwayne Wiggins died at the age of 64 after battling bladder cancer.
It was a painful loss, not just for Raphael, but for everyone who had grown up with their music. It marked the end of an era, a reminder of how far they'd come, how much they'd given, and how deeply their sound still lives on in people's hearts.